I welcome you to this session on average. In this session, we will solve some word problems based on the deviation method. So let us first of all understand what is this deviation method. Let us say we have four numbers and these numbers are 12, 14, 16 and 18. Now if we calculate the average of these four numbers, the average can be easily calculated as average is equal to 12 plus 14 plus 16 plus 18 whole of this divided by 4. So what do we get as the average? The average is equal to 15. Now once we calculate the average, we've already seen what is the meaning of the term deviation at any point. When we have to calculate the deviation at any point, let's say the point 12. The deviation at point 12 is nothing but the difference of 12 from the average of the numbers. So 12 minus 15, we get the answer as minus 3. So we say that deviation at 12 is minus 3. What about deviation at 14? Deviation at 14 is 14 minus 15, that is minus 1. Then we calculate deviation at point 16. Deviation at 16 is plus 1 and the deviation at 18 is equal to 3. Now what happens when you add up all these deviations? So sum of deviations is equal to minus 3 plus minus 1 plus 1 plus 3 and whole of this is equal to 0. So that leads us to an important point, that the sum of deviations about the average is always 0. Now we will utilize this particular understanding, this particular property of averages to solve certain questions of average. Let us solve one question using this property of sum of deviations as 0 to arrive at answers without actually writing down the equations. So we have the same question. The average of 5 numbers is 21. If 4 numbers are 17, 18, 19 and 24, what is the fifth number? So let us solve this using the deviation method. And to solve the question by using deviation method, you should orally be able to calculate the deviations. Here, I will not calculate it orally. I will write it down so that you can understand the method very well. So the four numbers are 17, 18, 19 and 24 and their average is known to us as 21. What is the deviation at 17? So the deviation at 17 is 17 minus 21, that is minus 4. Similarly, we calculate the deviation at 18. The deviation at 18 is minus 3. The deviation at 19 is minus 2. And the deviation at 24 is plus 3. Now we all know that the sum of deviations about the average is 0. So if there is a fifth number and if we calculate the deviation for the fifth number, the sum of these deviations and the deviation for the fifth number must be equal to 0. So let us calculate the sum of these deviations first. So sum of the known deviations is minus 4, minus 3, minus 7, minus 2, minus 9, plus 3 will give you minus 6. So the sum of known divisions as of now is minus 6, and which means if sum of all deviations is 0, the deviation of the fifth number must be plus 6. So the fifth number, let's call it x, minus the average, that is 21, must give us the deviation as plus 6, which means that the fifth number must be 21 plus 6, that is equal to 27. So we saw without actually having to add up these larger numbers, by merely orally adding up these smaller deviations, we are easily able to arrive at the answer 27. And you would remember this is the same answer that we got in the first session of word problems that we solved by equations. Now let us solve another question based on the deviation method. So here we have the average height of 10 people is 161. And if the average height of the first 3 is 160 and that of the next 4 is 164, what is the average height of the last 3 students? So let us once again solve this question. The first thing we need to calculate is the gross average, the overall average of 10 people. So overall average of 10 people is known to us as 161 centimeter. And whenever we calculate deviations in this question, it will be from 161 because 161 is the average of the entire group. Now what is the deviation for the first 3 points? The deviation for the first 3 points, because the average is 160, is given by 160 minus 161, that is minus 1. But because there are 3 points, I will simply multiply minus 1 by 3. So there you go, we have minus 1 into 3, and the overall deviation for the first 3 numbers is minus 3. What about the deviation for the next 4 numbers? Again, we calculate the deviation 164, which is the average of the next 4 numbers, minus 161 to yield 3. And once again, 3 is the deviation on each number. Therefore, we multiply 3 into 4 because there are 4 numbers. So the overall deviation is 12. So what is the total sum of deviations of these 7 numbers? The sum of deviations of these 7 numbers is minus 3 and plus 12, that will give us plus 9. And because the sum of all the 10 numbers is 161, the deviation about all these 10 numbers must be 0. Which means deviation for the last 3 students must be minus 9. And if the deviation for the 3 students is minus 9, deviation per student is minus 9 divided by 3, that is equal to minus 3. And obviously this deviation is calculated from the average. So if the average height of the last 3 students is x, then x minus the average, that is 161, this is the average of the whole, must be equal to minus 3. So what is the average height of the last 3 students? Minus 161 will become positive 161, minus 3 will give us 158 as the answer. So you saw we were able to reduce big calculations into very small calculations by the deviation method. Deviation method is very effective where you feel that calculations are very high. So with this we have come to an end of this particular session on deviation method. If you wish to solve more questions or if you want to have a look at more videos, please log on to our website www.pfindia.com. If you want to ask a doubt, please write to us at studentservices@pfindia.com. And if you are watching this video on our website, please use the Ask a Doubt feature for the same. Thank you very much.